1945. Hiroshima. 8:15 in the morning. Survivors described it as a second sun. A flash so white it erased shadows. Skin that peeled from the bone. Hair falling in clumps. The living envied the dead. Now, travel back 3,000 years to a battlefield described in the Mahabharata. Sanskrit verse, composed before the first iron sword was forged in the Mediterranean. A weapon is released. The text says, "A single projectile charged with all the power of the universe. An incandescent column of smoke and flame, bright as 10,000 suns." One of these events was recorded on film. One was written on palm leaves. The question isn't which one was real. The question is, why do they describe the same thing? Chapter 1. The Flash That Matches. Let's begin with what we know with absolute scientific certainty about a nuclear detonation, because that baseline is what makes everything else in this script so unsettling. When a nuclear weapon detonates, the sequence of destruction follows a precise pattern. First, a blinding thermal flash. Temperatures at the hypocenter reach between 3,000 and 4,000 degrees Celsius within microseconds. The light emitted is orders of magnitude brighter than direct sunlight. Exposed skin at distances up to 2 kilometers suffers third-degree burns, not from flame, from radiated heat alone. Then comes the pressure wave, then the radiation. Now, let's open the Mahabharata, specifically Book 8, the Karna Parva, and the Drona Parva. The Brahmastra is described in Sanskrit as Brahma Danda, the rod or weapon of the Creator. When invoked, the text states the following, and I want you to listen carefully. Because these are not metaphors written in ignorance, these are technical descriptions written by someone who saw something. Quote, "A blazing missile possessed of the radiance of smokeless fire was discharged. Dense arrows of flame like a great shower issued forth upon creation, encompassing the enemy. A thick gloom swiftly settled upon the Pandava hosts. All points of the compass were lost in darkness. Fierce winds began to blow. Clouds roared into the upper sky, showering blood. The very sun seemed to waver in the heavens. Smokeless fire, darkness at midday, wind disruption, blood raining from the sky, which in modern terms describes the phenomenon of a black rain event. The radioactive precipitation witnessed by survivors hours after both the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings." Let's now place this beside survivor testimony. Akiko Takakura, one of the closest survivors of Hiroshima, located approximately 300 meters from the hypocenter, described the detonation with these words: "A blinding light like a magnesium flash, then a wave of scorching heat. My skin began to peel. I did not feel pain immediately, only later. The sky turned dark brown." Yoshito Matsushige, a photographer present that day, said, "I saw people whose skin had melted and was hanging from their bodies like rags." Now return to the Mahabharata. Verse 200 of the Drona Parva describes those struck by the Brahmastra in this way. Of Azarvta, their hair and nails fell off. Pottery broke without apparent cause. The birds turned white. After a few hours, all foodstuffs were infected. The warriors threw themselves into streams to wash themselves and their equipment. Let's decode that line by line. Hair and nails falling off. This is classic acute radiation syndrome. Specifically the prodromal stage of bone marrow suppression, which we will examine closely in Chapter 2. Pottery breaking without cause. This may describe electromagnetic pulse disruption, which accompanies nuclear detonations and can shatter brittle materials through induced shock and static discharge. Birds turning white. There is documented evidence of albinism and feather depigmentation in bird populations near Chernobyl following 1986. We see this again at Bikini Atoll testing zones. Warriors rushing to rivers. This exactly mirrors what Hiroshima survivors did. Thousands rushed to the Ota River, some to cool their burns, many because they instinctively understood something toxic had entered their bodies, and water felt like the only answer. This is not cherry-picking. This is not coincident shopping. The Mahabharata was composed, by scholarly consensus, between 400 BCE and 400 CE, with core oral traditions dating back to 1000 BCE or earlier. The descriptions we're examining predate any known chemical weapon, any Greek fire formulation, any incendiary technology that could produce these symptoms at scale. The thermal flash. The skin damage from radiated heat, not flame contact. The sky darkening. The precipitation. The electromagnetic disruption. The biological cascade. These are not the descriptions of a man who read about fire. These are the descriptions of a man who was there. Now, skeptics will argue, these are poetic exaggerations, mythic inflation of battlefield accounts, that the ancient Indian mind, confronting the horror of war, reached for cosmic language. That argument has a problem. The specificity is wrong for poetry. Poets say, the sky turned to fire. They don't say, hair and nails fell off, pottery broke, survivors washed in rivers. Those details are not dramatic, they are not beautiful, they are clinical. They are the details of a witness report. And that changes everything.